Hello, viewers. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whatever part of the world you are from. This is your host, Aijaz Qureshi, all the way from Toronto, Canada, with today's brand new episode of the Aijaz Qureshi Show. Today, we are going to talk about a very, very interesting topic, which is awakening human potential. We, as human beings, have lots of potentials, and sometimes we are not aware of what potentials we have unless there is a catalyst or an activation of those potentials, and then we come to know when these potentials are awakened, then we know that what we can do and what we are capable of. Very important topic. For this great topic, we have invited our great friend, Miss Lianne Bridges. Miss Lianne Bridges herself is the CEO of Designing Transformation. She's an author. She is from Montreal, Quebec, Canada, and she has been working with a variety of businesses and not-for-profit organizations for over 2 decades, over 20 years. And Lianne caught the entrepreneurial bug, and she has successfully launched the strategy consulting business, which is called Designing Transformation. And she's doing a fabulous job there. And she has an MBA degree and over 30 years of experience. She combined them together, and she is putting up with multinational organizations and serving others. She's doing a wonderful job. In 2009, she founded the Designing Transformation Company, and she has recently published her memoir, and it says, Love Will Keep Us Alive. And that's a beautiful topic and title. And it actually recounts her own journey of overcoming great loss and awakening to her life purpose. She lost her husband several years ago. We'll hear all about that in the show. Without further ado, let's welcome our esteemed guest, Miss Lianne Bridges.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. This is such an honor. I really appreciate it. And such a great introduction. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lianne. I really appreciate your time, and I'm thankful to Rehan Allah for connecting us together on this platform and introducing us. Thank you so much for accepting my request to be a guest on the show. It's a privilege.
Thank
It's
you.
an
And
honor.
your show is fantastic. And I hope to be able to share with as many of my audience as well, because what you're doing is really inspiring others, and it's fantastic. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. So before we head to the topic, Lianne, what if I take you to your childhood? What is the earliest childhood memory that you recall, like 3, 4, 5 years old, Lianne Bridges? What comes to your mind?
It's funny when you say that. The first thing that comes to my mind is Expo 67 in Montreal.
Uh-huh.
And I was 4 years old at the time. And I remember there was a lot of great things, because I had a wonderful family upbringing, 5 kids, and my parents, and we did wonderful things together, like go to Expo.
Yes.
And I also, one of the things that I really remember about Expo was the future building.
Wow.
And I remember at 4 years old being really inspired by the things that they were showing us. And it's funny, in particular, one thing that always stuck with me was they had this little thing that showed that one day in the future we'll have video phones. And since
Yes.
4 years old, I've been always wanting video phones. And for so many years, it just didn't look like it was going to be possible. And it's so funny, here we are now. But I think that coming together of different cultures and different people really inspired me at a young age in the family setting, but also that idea of what's possible in the future. And I think for me, it's one of my earlier memories, but it's always been part of who I am. What's always possible? What's next? You know, while appreciating where we are, but also that's part of the human potential, is to explore where we want to go.
Absolutely. Wonderful. So as a child, Lianne, let me ask you this. Were you an introvert, extrovert, like you were a naughty kid, or you were just like sitting at one place wherever parents ask you to sit. You were sitting there, never move from there.
Well, I think, first of all, I'm more of an extrovert. My family, both my parents are more so, and all five of us, get us in a room, we can't shut up. So we're always competing for the stage type of thing.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah, and I think what often happens, and especially in a large family, you kind of find your role. And mine was to be the good kid. And in some ways that served me, in other ways it didn't, because I have more of that kind of rebellious spirit to not necessarily follow the rules. But when I was young, it really helped because I created order, it kept peace and so forth. But as I got older and when I wanted to break free of that, it held me back. So this was an important, probably one of the most profound lessons of my life, was how it wasn't defined by my early role within my family, and how I could leverage what was good from it and let go of the parts that weren't. The
Right.
people pleasing, the needing for approval, those kind of things that come with the good girl aspect of the family.
Those are limiting beliefs, actually. Yeah, you're
Exactly. Limiting beliefs and rescuing. That was another part, is I'd be the one in the family that would always be, come to the savior of the others and the solution and stuff. And that's, I think, a lifelong lesson for me. Probably why I, have that background and upbringing to learn that lesson.
Awesome. 2009, you did your MBA. What made you do MBA? Why not something else?
Yeah, so I actually did my MBA a little earlier. I graduated from undergrad.
In 2009,
Ontario.
you opened up the design transformation.
Yeah,
so, yes.
But that's okay. And I had worked for about 3 years in after my undergrad, which is in kind of economics and finance. And what I felt, what was important about the decision with my MBA is that I wasn't feeling like I was getting very far in my career. And it really had nothing to do with my background. I had a really good background in education. It was my confidence. And I remember one point I was doing some kind of like administrative work, and there were some accountants that came in doing an audit, and they were talking to me about my education background and stuff. And they said, "Why are you doing this work?" And I somehow inside didn't feel good enough to do more. And I was always trying to like kind of go a little bit below my ability so that I would feel like, good and confident. And so that really clicked on me, said, I need something to really push me. And I felt maybe, an MBA with that background would help me. And it wasn't as much the education, but that kind of ticket that kind of said to me, I have something more. And of course, as I realized, it really wasn't anything about the degree, the letters after my name. It was really about finding something that I could help me to gain the confidence. It could have been anything. It could have been a marathon. It could have been just doing my own internal work. But it was the ticket for me for confidence. That was it. It helped me a bit in learning business, for sure. I won't say that, but that was why I did it. And it really helped to just then start to strive for things that were above my potential, as opposed to always going for what was below and keeping in that safe zone.
Awesome. That's wonderful. You're an author as well. Would you like to share, before we head to the topic, how was that experience? What was that one single incident that made you decide to write about your own memoir?
I think my memoir was writing me versus the other way around. It was after I lost my husband to cancer in 2009. I just started journaling what I was experiencing. And I think one of the most important parts of that experience was, in my grief and eventually healing process, was to look for what was the purpose in it all, as opposed to why me, kind of why not me. What was the reason, if there's a reason for everything? And I really started to see how crisis can actually be the catalyst for some of our greatest change and evolution in our lives. And so I started looking for that. And as I was doing that, I was journaling, and I started to explore different modalities. I went around the world with my kids sometimes in hand, all the way to Bali. I do little kids 7 and 9, to discover different religions, different beliefs, and try to understand a lot more about myself. And through that process was continuing to journal. And I felt that maybe, that other people could benefit. One of the things that was really hit me when I was grieving is that there wasn't a lot at that time about the deeper purpose in your and the possibility of a spiritual or soulful conscious awakening that comes through something like that. That there wasn't much written about it. There wasn't much talked about. There weren't grief groups. Actually, when I would bring that up, I would kind of be, not by the people that led it, but the people in the group were kind of like closing me off from that. So I thought I need to get this message out to help others who, all of us go through something very tragic in our lives, and to see how it can be the catalyst for something greater. And also for us to see that life is eternal. If we start to see that, how do we act differently in this day, at this time, in our relationships? And so my book is a little bit about how I learned to connect with the eternal, the non-physical, the God source, whatever we want to call it, in a much, much deeper way, and how all of us can do that. And what happens when we do that to our life is incredible.
Absolutely. I think you and I share the same. I've been going through a lot in my life, and connecting to the supernatural or religious, whatever you want to call it. It really helps, and I have the first hand experience of that. I had my liver gone bad. I had liver cirrhosis, and I was a dead man who would develop. And the problem with the liver cirrhosis is that it retains the water in the body. It doesn't let the water out, and the tummy keeps bloating, and at one point in time, they used to take out every second day. They would take out 10 liters of water out of my tummy.
Wow.
So they would put the needle in, like this thick needle and this long needle. They would puncture from here. And then at that time, I would just listen to the verses and then my earbuds. And they would do sometimes local, sometimes they don't do local anesthesia. And the doctor would ask me, do you feel something? And I said, no, I'm not feeling anything, because I was connected at that time to the supernatural, So those kind of things, they definitely help. And I would second you on that. Yes, it is really important to really know that side. We are tied up in our daily lives into the worldly things, and we don't pay attention to something that we should be doing that.
And if I could just add to that, is that we often think we just have to overcome whatever it is, and these things happen outside of us. But really, it is often happening to us for us to learn, explore, and express in our greater potential. So I imagine what you went through, you explored a lot of things about yourself, hopefully, to express and heal, right?
Absolutely. I got finally my liver transplanted about 3 years ago, and I'm in good shape now. Thank you so much. All right, I think that's a good lead into the topic of the day, which is awakening human potential. This is a very interesting topic. So, as I said in the beginning, most often we don't know what our potentials are until we are discovered, actually. And sometimes it's us, but it takes longer. And sometimes it's others who discover potential in ourselves. And we suddenly come to, oh my goodness, I had that thing in me and I can do it. And then we go and do it. So where do you want to start about the topic, Lianne?
Well, you know what? It's so interesting, the questions you've asked, and I didn't know those questions were coming. So it was really interesting that you asked me about the MBA, because for the first time, I'm making the connection right now of that human potential there. I was literally under my human potential, and I wasn't fully conscious of it. And it was a protective mechanism. And then when I really said, life's too short, I'm not going to do this, and stepped out of that, it was very scary, but it was a movement towards more and more that human potential. So I thank you for that question, and to really spark. It's the cool part of this is you're always learning and always evolving. So I would say maybe start with kind of what is the human potential, and there's probably as many definitions as there are people on the planet what that is, right?
Yeah.
One of the things I like to think about is this idea that we're here to learn, evolve, and express and share. And one of the ideas that came to me a few years ago, or I must have read about it, was this idea of that we have a lot of times in our society this idea of we learn for like a third of our life or a quarter of our life in school and everything, and then for another third or so of our life we earn, and then we retire, and then we return. And so here we are learning, earning, and returning over a period of our life. But this new idea is that can we be doing all three on all the time? So when we're younger,
Yeah.
we're learning, but we can earn and return through in many different ways.
At the same
And
time.
yeah, and then as we're in our middle life too, should be always learning and returning too, because that a lot of times we just earn, and we get so burnt out. I can tell you the number of clients I've had that have come on burnout leave. And then similar in the retirement, it's that idea that we think that we finished earning. Well, we could also continue to earn money, and that will enhance our life. We don't have to amass this big amount of money so that we can just stop. And so we need to always learn. So I think those concepts are really important. And why are they important? So much research is coming out now. And one of them you might have heard of, the Blue Zones, was a book written, and it talked about these 5 places in the world where people have a high likelihood of living to 100 or around 100 or so. And they studied what was this common aspect of all 5, because they were in different parts of the world, like Costa Rica, Greece, Japan, and so forth. And they found that there were 9 things in common. And there were some that you would maybe expect, like a more plant-based diet, exercise and movement, connecting to your community. But another one that maybe people don't think of as much is that was a sense of purpose, that we continue way past 65, this arbitrary number, to feel connected to our community through our purpose. And when we continue to do that, we'll live longer. And other research out of Carleton University in Ontario showed that no matter where you find a sense of purpose, and it doesn't have to be this, part the sky, big thing. It can be little by little each day. When we find that, it can really help our health and wellness and our longevity. So more and more research around this is showing this is important. So I believe that purpose and passion and prosperity are all part of living your potential. We need all of those, and a sense of peace, and so that we're not like chasing all the time. So it's about being able to work on ourselves, learning all the time, always finding a way to energetically earn, and exchange in some way, shape, or form, and then returning to our community, our society, or the world that helps us to further and further our potential.
Oh, that's great. Wonderful. But the question comes to my mind, Lianne, is how do we make ourselves aware of our potential, what we can do, what we can accomplish in our life? Learning is one that, yes, if we keep learning, then we try to opt to different things. But again, some people do learn and they don't even apply it, or even try to apply that learning into their lives, and they don't discover their potentials.
Yeah.
So what is the first and foremost thing that would help us discover our potential?
Such a great question. So I think, when I think about human potential, the word that kind of captures the process for me, and this is just my perception, there's so many different ways of talking about this.
Yeah.
But is this idea of self-leadership. And to me,
self-leaders take control.
Yeah. So the self-leadership, it's this idea that everything starts from within, that, everything is an inside job. Yeah. Everything we want to become, to experience in this world, it starts from within. It starts from starting to observe and regulate our own beliefs and thoughts and our emotions and our actions and reactions. And so how I look at self-leadership, it's the key to our own well-being and living our human potential. It also is in either leading others. It has to start, and that's something that's starting to take off now. If you start to Google self-leadership now versus a few years ago, you'll see so many more people talking about this. You'll see it, and this is what I'm really excited about, bringing it into corporate boardrooms, this idea that it's all about leading from within. But if I was to answer the question about where do we start, to me, there's kind of three main components of self-leadership. And the first one is about self-awareness. And so the idea of self-awareness is to, a little bit about what we were talking about, start with understanding that we are much more than this flesh and this life, that we are a consciousness. And through that consciousness and being aware of it, we can control our thoughts and our beliefs. So if we are, and there's many practices we'll talk about in a second, but if we are able to pause in a situation, like maybe we're really triggered or whatever, and we can pause and we can be the observer in our life and in that situation, we can start to see what are the beliefs that are behind why I'm triggered. Can I stop and rather than reacting? And belief is simply thoughts that we keep thinking. And our beliefs become, if we keep believing them, become our programming. And our programming helps us at some point in our life, and sometimes it doesn't. So back to your earlier question about, how I was believed that I was to be that good girl and to always be good in all times. And that helped me when I was younger, but it became a belief that hindered me. And I had to become aware of it, and I had to understand where it came from, allow it, and to let it go. And so when we start to do this work on the self-awareness, we start to see what are the beliefs that no longer serve us. Maybe they did one day, maybe they never did, maybe they've hurt us quite a lot. And what are the beliefs that are going to support us more? Belief that I am enough, belief that I am, I will learn things, good things come to me, different things like that. I'm compassionate with myself. I really value self-care, not giving everything of myself out and being depleted, those kind of things. So that whole idea of self-awareness for me is first being conscious of that we are this greater consciousness within this human experience. And then, so as a result of that, we can observe what's happening in our thoughts, bodies, emotion, and so forth, that we can then redirect it over time, get better and better at that. And as we get better at self-awareness and self-regulation, we actually get better at creating outcomes that we want to create. And when we create better outcomes for ourselves and our families, we create a ripple effect in our community and society. And so for me, it's always back to self-responsibility and not looking at what the government hasn't done. I get caught up in this too. The government did this or didn't do that, or this person or my neighbor or my colleague. But I always have to catch myself and come back to, okay, so what is it that I'm here to learn? How can I, evolve and grow from this? And how can I eventually return that back to help others with the learning and knowledge that I have? So for me, the first step is around self-awareness. And I have a couple of others if you want me to talk a little bit more about the other two.
Yeah, sure. Please do.
Okay. So the second step for me after that really, and again, this is a thing that we do on an ongoing basis. It's not like I get
it's
it once.
It's an evolving thing, yes.
Yeah, I got it. Now I'm self-aware. Forget it. I mean, I have been really focused on this for the last 12 years, but I can tell you I get hooked in all the time. Yeah. I just go, okay. But the good thing is I kind of respond more quickly than getting stuck in stuff. So there's that idea of self-awareness. And the next one is self-motivation. And that to me comes from this idea of a deeper self-discovery. Discovery beyond the thoughts and beliefs of who you are and what you're here to do. And that I kind of over the years working first with companies to define what their vision and mission is. And then I started working on that on myself in 2009 when I wanted to redesign my life. I said, okay, who am I? And over time started working with clients the same. I developed kind of a process called your Thrive Zone, where I look at what are the important things to help you really thrive? And when you can understand that about yourself, you can start to change things in your life to make it happen. So what are some of the things? One would be passion. What is it that you really love, that you're very passionate about? What brings you a sense of meaning? Those two things together help you to be much more engaged in the day-to-day and the work you do. And sometimes people think of something that's passion but not meaningful, and something meaningful but not passionate. So just very quick example, I might be really feel meaning to help out at my kids' school, but I'm not really passionate about it. Or I might be passionate about skiing, but it's not very meaningful. But when I bring consciousness to companies, that's where I find very passionate, and it brings a lot of meaning. And so I'm totally engaged. And for a lot of people in their work, they're missing one or two or both of these. And that's where they're not going to be thriving. They're not going to be as motivated. And that's a really important part of reaching your potential and self-leadership. Some other parts of the Thrive Zone include also your area of excellence. So that comes from not only your training, direct and indirect, your experiences in your work, but also your personal experiences. So as I'm discussing some of my personal experience, and you have as well, we realize how much that comes to help us to reach our potential in terms of our performance, our excellence, and what we can give back.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And there's more to that, but at another time I can tell you, I actually have some things on my website. You can do a free assessment, but
Awesome.
ideally we look at also where you are most naturally work in the world, and you look at your archetypes, you look at personality, you look at your creative style. When you look at all of those together, it helps you to really define who you are. But then you have to say about, then who is it that I'm here to help? What is this unique, like my mandala behind, this perfect, unique me and you, as your mandala is totally different than mine and everyone out there. What is that mandala? Who is that for? You know, who can I help? Where's my unique contribution? And when we start to see the who, then it helps us to really define our vision and our mission, our personal, if you will, brand. Not brand from a big marketing perspective, but brand of this is authentically who I am and where I can make the greatest contribution. And when I can make the greatest contribution, that feels amazing for me, you know, and I love it, and I'm healthier and happier. And so that idea of that self-motivation comes from really understanding where you thrive, who it is, and your unique contribution, but also creating that vision for yourself of where you want to go. So that's the second part, that's kind of self-motivation. And the last piece is the self-mastery.
Self-mastery.
So the self-mastery, there's a few things. One is, you know, having practices and tools to help you with the awareness, for example. I believe there's a lot about helping us with gaining greater and greater wisdom and evolving. Wellness is a very important practice. This is the only body we have. The more we can treat it, and we can express our light in the world. The other is wonder, a practice of wonder, being in nature, being playful, being with our kids, our pets, whatever brings that awe. That, again, there's more research showing how that's great for our body, but it's also great for imagination and innovation. And really that idea of attraction, of being in that higher state of consciousness and focusing on what we want to achieve, helps us to really be aligned with our potential. And so it's about that, those practices, and focusing on where we need development. You know, where is it that we want to really improve? Is it our creativity? Is it our communication? What are some of those areas? And then finally, for mastery, is then going through kind of, there's something called, from the lean world, you might know from lean manufacturing and stuff and in the business, it's called plan, do, check, act. And it's like, we need, if we want to do and change something and master something, we need to plan it out, do, check to see how it's working, and change maybe something and continue to act, and then sustain that. So for mastery is about getting the right practices, focusing area where you want to grow and develop, and then doing that plan, do, check, act kind of circle on a regular basis. So for me, that idea of human potential is really self-awareness, self-motivation through that self-discovery and vision, and then self-mastery.
Awesome. Awesome. Great, great, great. What would you advise to 10 years younger yourself, Lianne?
I would say 10 years didn't seem that long ago, but I would say, yeah.
Okay, let's say 20 years.
20 years, yeah. No, but, you know, I think it's, yeah, because 10 years ago I was awakening, you know, and I probably would say trust in the process, trust in the universe. I think that 10 years or 20 years ago, often I would start on something, I would get like this clear vision, and then I wouldn't continue. I would be like, some doubt would creep in. And that's,
Yes.
you know, my book took me 9 years to write it off and on.
Wow.
Because I would write it and then I would leave it. And then I'd write it and then go, yeah, but I need to make money. I can't, you know, I'd kind of feel I can't spend too much time on this, and let it go. And so if I could just trust, I think if I would say to my younger self, trust a little bit more that the process, the way it's going to happen is meant to be. You will be provided the abundance you need. Your kids will be fine. And as long as you're authentic to your heart and the message that you believe is
You want
important
to
to get out
convey.
there.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I would think that would be, and I'm still learning that, trusting right now through everything that we're going through right now, right? As a society, it's like, I do believe there's trust that there's a greater picture here. And so many people have seen through the pandemic that some of these great gifts that they've got, whatever it might be individually for each one.
Awesome. Awesome. So what is that one thing, Lianne, that you want to accomplish before you go away from here, from this world? What is that one thing?
One thing I would say, to help people realize their potential, but really what I would say is to realize everything is from within, that they are so much, each one of us is so much greater than we can even imagine.
Self-realization.
Yeah, we're so much greater than we think we are. We're so much, I'm just starting to get this. And as I could help I hopefully help my children first, my two boys, and anyone else is gravy after that, is to realize that we are so much greater and that everything starts from within, and through that self-responsibility and self-leadership,
Awesome.
that they can transform the world and create that ripple effect for others in their society and in their world.
Awesome. Lianne, what are the top 3 things that make you feel happy and fulfilled?
I would say for sure time with my boys and my family is amazing, and friends. Being in nature, I actually live in a pretty nature environment, and I go into nature every day. I think that, again, we're starting to realize that when we connect with nature, how it helps nourish our body and our soul and so forth. And
mind, body, and soul, actually, all 3 of those.
Yeah, exactly. And how important that is.
Yeah.
And the third is my connection to divine, connection to source, to continue to grow and evolve that and express that into the world. That's where I get so much joy. I wake up energized and passionate every day, and have for years and years. I have always loved my work, but over the last 12 years with that transition, it's really been an amazing, a beautiful ride. And even when crazy things happen, like last year, keep feeling each year is better than the one before. Yeah. And it's hard to imagine, but I would say those are the 3 things that are really important to me.
Awesome. Awesome. What are the top 3 things which distract you from enjoying your life? Are there any?
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure. So the first one I would say is busyness. Busyness, yeah. So I think like all of us have this is something I teach when I talk about the Thrive Zone, is we have our great gifts, and our great gifts can also show up as our great challenges. So I have this kind of mind that's creative and always going, always looking for potential. But when you're always looking for the potential, you sometimes don't necessarily appreciate where you are, and you're busy redesigning the house or changing my website or so forth. So a big lesson for me is really to stay put and stay in the now. And I have some wonderful friends and guides and colleagues that help me with that. The second one, I think, is I've learned a lot of. There's quite a few, but I would say is a part of my journey is overcoming the hero struggle. I think that, and it comes to what you were saying before, is not needing to save others. And it comes back to that self-responsibility. If we all are responsible for ourselves, we can love and support and be compassionate with another with a very gentle hand.
True.
And I think that I've had a not so gentle hand, like, hey, you got to do this, and why aren't you doing this, and really getting into that kind of trying to rescue people, and that can end up into becoming more enabling of others. I think that's a big lifelong lesson that I'm continuing to learn. And I would say the third one is staying in balance of structure and flow.
Mm.
And I have a much more of a bias towards structure because of my background and maybe who I am, but my business background and stuff. And my colleague who I do a lot of retreats and stuff with, she biases towards flow. And so we really balance each other out and kid each other all the time. But I've learned a lot from her, being in the moment, being in flow, being creative, not having everything planned out, because that can block the creativity. And I think I teach her as well how structure is needed. If we want to build a bridge, we usually need some sort of plan to build it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so those would be my three big ones that are constantly.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask you this, Lianne. Are you in control of your thoughts, or your thoughts control you?
My heart.
Or you are at the mercy of them?
I think I be honest to say I'm both. I have the intention to work with my thoughts and my emotions for the better outcomes, like I said before. But I continually catch myself reacting, judging, like here I've been practicing really intently for 12 years. I mean, I think all my life I have been on this journey, but really intently for 12 years. And still I catch myself judging. And I go, wow, I'm trying not to judge. I'm trying to be compassionate, judging myself,
Yes.
judging others. And then what happens with judgment, those thoughts, those negativities
Exactly.
that come out.
True.
So I definitely am not 100% in charge. I don't know if I ever will be, or even if it's 100% possible for us to be, maybe. But it's that kind of evolution towards catching it, seeing and healing from it, allowing the feelings and allowing the thoughts to come out, not suppressing them, and observing them, and then releasing them, and accepting myself and accepting another in a situation who maybe I felt harmed me or said something inappropriate, but say, hey, that's just their journey, what they're on and what they need to learn.
Awesome.
And so I'm certainly not in 100% control. I would say that for sure.
Right. Good. What ascent did you use to, come up with or deal with the three major goals in your life?
I'm not sure I understand the question. What was what?
What is strengths did you use?
Strengths. Okay.
Yeah, strengths. What did you use to achieve those three goals that you had in your life?
Okay.
There would be more, but again, take top three.
Yeah. So I would say that grit is a definite strength of mine. and it was this great book actually called Grit or something like that. It's called Grit. And it talks about the idea of the perseverance and purpose are two things that actually make people more successful than pure raw talent. And I would say that I've never been someone who has pure raw talent. I think that a lot of times specialists have that, whereas I'm much more of a generalist. And I think we in the world, we need both. Generalists tend to be kind of good at lots of things. Specialists are really good at certain things.
True.
And so being a generalist, I'm good at seeing lots of things and connecting them. That's another kind of strength for me. So being able to see the vision and seeing how it all comes together. And that helps me to be a bit of a futurist, to be able to predict what's coming a little bit earlier and kind of step into it, which kind of creates more of that pioneer change maker type of way of being. But in order to be that, I have to be really clear about a purpose for myself, even if it changes over time, and to be very perseverant. Again, that comes back to the idea I was saying before, that your strengths also can be your challenges. I was always told when I was younger, I was stubborn. And I have two boys who are very stubborn. And I realized as a parent, it can be really challenging having a stubborn child. But once they get to a certain age, it's amazing because nobody else, their peers don't convince them. They don't get drawn into all the peer groups and all that. They're stubborn.
True.
And that stubbornness is turned into perseverance and grit. But of course, like all gifts, I have to watch the shadow side of that gift, right? Awesome. To be more stubborn with others and and never give up, just to accept, sometimes let go is a challenge for me.
Let it go is challenge. Yes. Mudassir Khan is saying, superb topic, sir. Thank you so much. I'm glad you're liking it. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Awesome. Last question from my side, Lianne, is how you want to be remembered?
Um, I would say a loving parent, mother, wife, daughter, and friend.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Great. Great. Now, we are 40 minutes into the show, and the time passed without even realizing how quickly time passed. Was there anything else you wanted to share about the topic when we picked this topic and we didn't explore it yet? This is the time to share it.
Okay. I think we've covered a lot. I think that, the main message I'd say is this is a lifelong journey, and that there is such great, wonderful gifts and opportunities that come from being on this journey. And so many people I see today, and as we get to a certain age, it's like, oh, I've learned what I need to learn. I am who I am, and that's it. And I see so many people suffering, so many, needlessly. And then the suffering that's emotional and mental becomes physical, and then the downhill spiral as a result of that. When everything is within us to turn that around, to be able to realize that we are the maestro of our life. It's not all the things that happen to us. We're not
True.
the victims. We become the victor.
No, that's
And
true.
when we start to be able to shift that, our whole world changes. The thoughts change, then it creates the emotional change, it creates the physical change, it creates the environmental change. And you can start at any one of those places. I always say to people, if you just want to change something, go and change a room. Declutter
Yes,
something, your kitchen, I don't care. That
true.
starts to shift the energy, shift the thoughts. And then once we start to do that, we're on a momentum that we can start to shift our life. But
Very true.
so many people are suffering right now, feeling of anxiety, of depression, and so forth. And reach out to people that can help you. And this is a wonderful show that inspires people, and that's your intention. And I just applaud you for the work you're doing. And
Thank you so much.
so much appreciate the opportunity to
Thank you.
discuss with you
Thank you so
today.
much. I'm humbled and obliged. Thank you. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Awesome. So now it's a time for the segment which is on a lighter note, U and Q. Q for Qureshi. So that's you and me. That's it. In this, we'll be playing a rapid fire. I'll give you a word, and whatever comes to your mind without, thinking about too much or uncensored, you can respond back to that word. Are you ready?
Yes,
All right.
I think
Cool.
so.
Number one, home.
Love, beauty.
Love. Good.
One word, you say?
No, you can say
Okay,
you can say
okay.
sentence or you can respond
Yeah,
back in one word, whatever
yeah,
comes to your mind.
yeah.
Okay. Coffee.
Morning meditation.
Morning meditation. Air.
Life,
Life.
breath. Yes.
Horse.
Universal wisdom.
Universal wisdom.
You said horse,
Mountain.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Mountain. Oh,
Mountain.
freedom and potential.
Freedom. Wow. Uh, beefsteak.
Tomato and steak. I love it. Well, two
Grilled
things
tomato.
I love: tomatoes and steak. Even though I probably
Awesome.
shouldn't.
Awesome. Flower.
Universal beauty and
Beauty. Very.
incredible. Yeah.
Spoon.
Spoon. Cuddling. Spooning.
Cutting. A friend.
Sharing.
Sharing. Yes. Neighbor.
Sharing.
Sharing again. All right. Love.
Divine.
Divine. Owl.
All knowing. Can
Success.
see all around.
Yeah.
Success. Multidimensional.
Multidimensional. That's right. Story.
Who we are.
Who
Our
we are.
story.
It's a story. That's right. Donkey.
Sweet,
Sweet.
playful.
Sweet animal. Yes. Breath. That we inhale.
Life-giving.
Life-giving. Privilege. Yes. That's
Mm.
good. Fair complexion.
Fear complexion.
No, fair. Like me.
Fair. 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 Being fair, being kind, being fair like this.
No, the complexion, the fair complexion. You see, the brown complexion. Let me.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know what to say. I think that all humans are incredible beings
Awesome.
in variety of expressions,
Awesome.
infinite expressions.
Awesome. Pen.
Story.
Story. Mother-in-law.
Beautiful being.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Peace.
Equanimity.
Soul.
Infinite.
Infinite. Cleverness.
Fun.
Fun.
And annoying.
And annoying at the same time. Yes. All right. Seriousness.
Sometimes needed, but not too, don't be too serious.
That's good. Driver.
Consciousness.
Consciousness. Friendship.
Fun. Support.
Yes. Support. Fun and support. Leader.
Change maker.
Change maker. Boss.
Just a title.
Just a title. That's it. Exactly. Black.
Yin and yang.
Time.
An illusion.
An illusion. That's right. And the next last two words are, one of them is heart.
How expansive.
Expensive. And the last word is Canada.
A little bit disappointed these days, but amazing country.
All right. Sounds great. Thank you so much. This was UNQ. I hope you enjoyed. It's on a very lighter note that we play on. Thank you so much. All righty. So, Lianne, let's head back. And what would you say as your final word on the show?
Well, thank you and people listening here for taking the time. I really honor that. And if you could just take 5 minutes of your time today or tomorrow to just tap into who you really are. And whether that is to take some time to breathe, go out in nature, have some fun, read something that inspires you, listen to more podcast videos like this. It raises your vibration and it will help you mind, heart, body, and soul. And from that, you will inspire others. So I wish you all the best.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lianne. On behalf of Dreams Television, the Aijaz Qureshi Show, myself, my entire team who helps me run this show, all the viewers who have watched us on YouTube and Twitch TV channels, or those friends who will be watching the recording of this show according to their time zones on different social media channels. Thank you so much for sharing such beautiful thoughts. I really enjoyed the show and discussion on the topic. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Take care. Bye now.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Hi, viewers. That was Miss Lianne Bridges, all the way from Montreal, Canada. Great person. I really enjoyed discussion around the topic and awakening human potential. How do we awaken our hidden potentials and how do we actually capitalize on them? This is important. Not only awakening is important, but capitalizing on those awakenings and potentials are really important. Until next time, please do comment and let us know how did we do on the show and how we can make it better. This is your host, Aijaz Qureshi, saying goodbye to you. Take care of yourself and people around you. Take care.